I haven't. We haven't done anything except the antibody treatment.
They didn't tell me in advance all the side effects that it has, and 5 months later, I've lost my hair. I'm still having other side effects and stuff. Not
Wow.
worth the treatment.
I'm so sorry.
When there were other options available, they just didn't tell us.
We've been fortunate so far. My twins got it, and you couldn't tell they had it. My wife has asthma really bad, so we're pretty scared for her. But I mean, it's mild. I can't go running anywhere right now, and I don't want to do anything, and that's not like me. So.
Right.
Well, I had double pneumonia with mine.
Wow. Hey, Dr. Lamb.
Good afternoon. Or is it evening?
Everybody, we're talking about people dealing with COVID. Preston's out right now with COVID.
Oh, well, prayers for everybody.
It has not gone away.
Don't see much hope in sight for that. I just got up from the TV and watching the special about the new Omicron variant, and so I guess I'll just have to stay inside until my beard gets longer, I guess. I don't see much good things happening. So what are we doing tonight? The town hall for MELS 601 add-ons. Is that where we are tonight?
Yes, sir. And you're just going to basically, I guess, bring closure. We've talked about it in our classes, but bring closure, anything you need to say, but basically introduce them to 603 is what you're mainly doing. And right. Dr. Lamb, many of them are at the place that they can start on 603 work immediately.
Good. That's what we'll talk about. I've got two things on my list here that I do want to cover before that are ancillary to the town hall. And the first is, let me go ahead and
for a little bit, just a little bit. Thanks to some good old Christmas.
Let me mute everybody except for me. Two things I want to talk about before we get any further. One is make sure that you have addressed your competency folio with your artifacts. Now, please remember, artifacts are not written narratives. They are things that you generated during the time that you were an intern this fall. So make sure that you do one round of those and click on each one of them. You can just go right down the line and it'll tell you what you got to have. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go to task stream. And remember, always when you use task stream, when you leave, sign out. Do not leave task stream up and running. So you just come right back and just sign right back in. And to go to your competency folio, if you remember, you do not go into your DRF portfolio. You can see I've got a few. You'll have one. Do not go into your DRF portfolio. Come up here to folios and web pages where you created your competency folio. Now, if you have not created it for some reason, you create new right here. This is where you would start. There's a little video in your class shell that says how to create your competency folio if you've not done that. Now, if you don't remember doing it, that means you didn't. So make sure that you have one. You need that one each semester that you're in the program. We don't make a new one every semester. We make one, and then we add to it each semester. You're building a portfolio to show prospective employers and DPI to prove that you did something as an intern. So again, when you click on Fall 21, when you click on it, make sure that you are here on the edit content page and click on communication, and you should put one there. The easiest one, of course, to be put there for the app sale and digital is that email permission from your principal to start your PLC way back at the first of the semester. That's the best digital competency. A screenshot of that'll be fine. But you go right down the line, it tells you what you owe in each one of these. And so there are 3. That means you're in the program for 3 semesters. That means you have one for each of the 21 competencies for each of the semesters not 3 per semester, 3 total. That's why I said don't make but one of these. If you make more than one, then you got to fill it up as well. And remember, when you go down through visionary, digital learning competencies, that just tells you what they are. Remember, I embedded those into the first 21, so you don't have to put anything there. It just tells you what they are. And then internship log. Now, unfortunately, many of you have already uploaded your internship log for this first semester over in your DRL portfolio and submitted it for final evaluation. That makes the evaluators mad as fire when you do that, and they get mad at me. And so you understand in social systems theory, you understand the kick the dog syndrome, don't you? Man gets yelled at work, he goes home, yells at his wife yells at the kid, kid's not got anybody to yell at, so he kicks the dog. You are the dog in this scenario. So when the state evaluators wear me out and then I wear your instructors out, they're going to wear you out. That's the way it works. You are at the end of this food chain in this social system. So please stop doing that. You upload your internship log here in your competency folio and request comments. Do not upload it for final evaluation, and the evaluator goes in and sees it and says, well, there's only one here. What's going on? And they call me up and say bad things to me. And so then I have to say bad things to other folks. So again, please don't do that. Put your internship log of 80 hours here, not in your DRF portfolio. One artifact for each of the 21 down through visionary for this semester. You've done both the AppSell and the AppTel. You've got plenty of artifacts. There's documents in your class shell that tells you where you can find all these artifacts if you don't know what they are, but it's things that you generated from the work that you did. So make sure that you have done that. All right. And always when you leave TaskStream, always up to the top right, always log out and leave it in this condition. I don't care if you think, well, I'm just going to go to the bathroom and go get a cup. Log out each time you move away from this. If it locks you out, I can't get you back in for 6 hours. That's just the way it works. And then hopefully, and I may have to get TaskStream to reset your account. So don't do that. All right, so I'm going to stop my share. Now I'm going to talk about.
Dr. Lamb, I will tell you that a large percentage have completed their competency folio and they really have done an excellent job on it. And this week I started the internship hours have started coming in a lot in the correct way. So that's coming in too. But the folios are probably some of the best that we've had.
That's great.
They're coming through. So I've been very pleased with that.
I'm glad to hear that. So let's talk about the calendar for a minute. As I have to remind my wife, who was a curriculum instruction specialist, they're not like normal people, but I have to remind her from time to time that there is a time-space continuum that math science people understand, which means you can only be in one place at one time, and you can't get time back. Those are two constants in the world. And so what that means is sometimes you have to think ahead and you have to understand the limitations of time. And I'm going to tell you right now, the folks who start in this program in the fall, that time-space continuum that you learn in physics is going to hit you upside the head like a cold fish about middle of June. I'm just going to tell you now, you better be planning for that. And we can plan ahead and keep this bad thing from happening to you by understanding. You've got this spring to knock out the OMA and the skip. You got 16 weeks. Now, the problem is you only have 8 weeks this summer to knock out the cap and the SIL. Let me say that again. You only have 8 weeks this summer to knock out the cap and the SIL, the last 2. So it's going to be a squeeze, but you can do it. You've got a couple weeks between the spring and the fall, so that'll give you another 2 weeks. You say, well, summer school is 10 weeks long. All work's got to be in 2 weeks prior to the end of summer school, though. That's just the way it works. I mean, if you're graduating or you're completing, your work has to be in 2 weeks before the end of the semester. So you get from 10 back down to 8, but if you work those 2 weeks in between, you get back up to 10, and it's doable. But here's the part, yes, you can access everything over the break. We don't put anything up. Blackboard stays open, task room stays open. But here's the part of the time-space continuum you've got to understand. Summer school doesn't start until the backside of May. And by the time summer school starts, many of your schools are already kind of in semi-lockdown over testing preparation and all that. You know, that happens every year late in May. It does every year. It's funny how that happens. Every year you get to late in May, we start the wind down for the school year. And the CAP requires you to collect some data and interview some teachers and to do some observations. That's not allowable during testing. And so you've got to and by the time testing is over, the teachers are going home. Oops. So you got to understand, you probably need to start your CAP.
I can't use my headphones. I don't know how to fix it.
Let me mute again. You need to start your CAP no later than May 1st. If you don't, by the time that you're allowed to go back, all these materials will be in your 603 shell. All of the materials that we'll need will be there, and we'll also put them after tonight so that I won't get 73 questions. We'll put all of them in your 601 shells as well. And so you need to start your CAP no later than May the 1st. Now, if your school starts testing earlier than about the 15th of May, and some of them do, then you back up accordingly. When I'm saying May 1, that assumes that you're going to go to testing lockdown or testing mode on or about May 15th. Now, if you go to testing lockdown on, say, May the 1st, that means you need to start the CAP on April 15th. You need about 2 weeks. You need about 2 weeks, and you can knock and get everything together. You can knock the CAP out. But if you wait until testing is over and it's the middle of June and everybody's gone home, that's why I said about the middle of June, that time-space continuum hits you, then you realize I've got nobody to interview. I've got nobody to watch. I've got nobody to get together and do a set of recommendations. Uh-oh, what am I going to do now? Not only is your time short in the summer, it hits at the worst possible time when you need to be starting. So you got to back up at least 2 weeks. So when they announce the testing calendar this spring, you need to go ahead. If nothing else, you need to write on your calendar 2 weeks prior to that, I need to start my CAP now. No matter where else I am and any of my other evidences, I need to start my CAP now. If I don't, I will not get through this summer. I'll just tell you right now, you won't get through. If you can't get your CAP started before everybody leaves the building for summer, before testing lockdown starts, if you can't get it done, it won't get done. It just doesn't happen. And you've got time after that, but it's the access to the people that you need to do your qualitative work. Quantitative work, in the CAP, your quantitative work is you will break down your teacher working condition survey, time, facilities, resources, teacher leadership, and school leadership. You'll break down those 5. There's 12 areas on your teacher working condition survey. South Carolina, you use Advanced Ed or Cognia. There's also a different one, and I can't remember the name of it in South Carolina that some of the districts have gone to as well. It's the survey that goes out to teachers. You're going to have to analyze at least 5 areas of it. You don't have to do all 12. There's just 5, but you don't get to pick which 5. Again, it's time, facilities, resources, teacher leadership, and school leadership. Those are the 5 you have to do. You collect that. That's your quantitative data. That's public information, teacher working condition survey. You go get it, look at it. You analyze it. We tell you what to do with it. Then in task 2, you have to go out and ask people, why is it low? You got to go out and collect qualitative data where you do interviews with the staff and do observations as to why it's low. Here's the classic example of that. Under time, teachers always report on teacher working condition survey. I don't have enough planning time. So if you just looked at that from a quantitative, from a numbers perspective, it'll always be the lowest one. You say, well, they need to add more time to the schedule. Well, you're going to learn next semester in 603, and when I do master scheduling with you in 603, you're going to learn why that's not an option. Can't do that. And so, but if you went and asked those same teachers, why don't you have enough planning time? They'd say, well, I got plenty planning time. I just never get to take it because I'm clever in classes. So the solution to more planning time is not build more into the schedule, which can't be done. It's to protect what we've got and hire substitutes rather than making us cover our colleagues' classes. That has become, as you all know, that has become the #1 problem in schools right now. #1. I've talked about this for years, and everybody else was like, Dale, you're the village idiot. Well, I already knew that. Some villagers missing their idiot. But see, I worked in the kinds of schools where we couldn't get subs. So I know what a problem it is. Now, everybody works in the kinds of schools they can't get subs. Welcome to my world. Dr. Crawford and I worked in a place where a substitute wouldn't even drive by the building. I can tell you that right now. I don't know that I was there for 2 years. I don't know that I ever had a substitute in 2 years. 2 full years, never had a substitute. Never. Not one. The secretary, Todd, loved it because he didn't have to do any of the paperwork, but we never had a sub in 2 years. And everybody was like, well, Dale, that's just, that doesn't happen. Yes, it does. And now it's happening for everybody. And so those are the kinds of things that you have to address in your teacher working condition survey. And the numbers can be misleading. You got to go out and ask people why. Why is it slow? And more importantly, what could we do to fix it? And so you got to have some time with that data to break it down in those 5 areas. Now we have some students who add 1 or 2 or 3 more of areas. Sometimes we'll have a student who will add, well, our school problem is managing student conduct. I think we ought to add that one and break it. And that's great. 5 is the minimum. You can do anywhere between 5 and all 12 of the areas. Now, you've already done academics, you've already done professional development, you've already hit most of the things. But usually the one thing that people will add is managing student conduct, but you don't have to. But you do have to go out and ask people why it's this way and what we can do to fix it. And you have to present that in task 2. Now, it's not going to work if you're in testing lockdown, you can't talk to people, or if they've already gone home. Now, I'm not saying that you need to convene focus groups. I think we can get by with the interviews, but some of the best data that we've seen comes from when we have time to focus, go to a PLC and do a little focus group with 3 or 4 or 5 teachers at one time. You get some really rich feedback on what we could actually do to help the working conditions of this school. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot of money, or sometimes it doesn't take extra personnel, but principals are being held more and more and more accountable for those TWC scores. I told you, school administration is all about making a good number go up or a bad number go down. And that now extends to teacher working condition survey as well. That's looked upon just like test scores now. That's a big deal. You got to learn how to address it. I mean, you can break it down, but you got to learn to go out and talk to people about what we can do to fix this. And you got to have time to do that. Again, that time-space continuum. The timing is just really bad for the CAP. So you got to, 15 days prior to, 2 weeks prior to when you're going to go to testing lockdown, you need to write down, I need to start the CAP now, and get out and look at my data, put it together, and then get out and talk to people about it. And if you do that, you'll be so much more ahead of the game in your CAP. All right, so let me share my screen and start with the OMA. So you'll be in the OMA to start the spring. Many of you will be with me. Some of you will be with some of the others. Regardless, you will be doing the OMA. The OMA is about building a legal master schedule and duty roster. Again, that's what I was just referring to. You can't, there are state and federal guidelines on master schedules, class sizes, those kinds of things. And you got to understand that every kid's got to be with a teacher every hour of every day. And so if the more planning time that you add into the schedule, the fewer teachers that are in rotation each hour, and you can't overload, you can't put 50 in one class, so that, you can't put 2 classes in one. There's a limit on class sizes. So that's why I said you got to be creative in terms of how you can get teachers their planning time without adding more to the schedule, because you're just not allowed to do that. So let me share my screen. The OMA is the last template that you're going to get. It doesn't have anything really in it other than the directions. Again, gradual release, intentional abandonment, whatever you want to call it. Remember, we're moving on now. So let me. So here is your OMA, but if you'll notice this time, your name here, here's all the stuff. We just got the descriptions, the prompt. We don't give you any clues or hints or whatever. This is what you get. You just get the directions this time. Now, I will be kind and I will give you an exemplar, but now understanding the exemplar is from neither North or South Carolina. It's from Hawaii. And so this one is 71 pages long. Which is an actually really, this actually is a really short one. But we do have, so we'll give you the blank template, we'll give you an example, and I will give you my PD program on how to build a master schedule. I'll give you those 3 documents, which will be more than enough for you to get by. So let's look at what you're asked to do. So in task 1 of the OMA, what you're asked to do your research and development analysis of school context at the internal and external levels to include demographic information regarding students and staff, and with a place it in a state and national context. So what that means is this. We need to know everything about internal to your building. We need to see a copy of your master schedule. We need to look at your state report card, your test scores, teacher quality, all the stuff that's on your state report card, all your performance data. We need to look at your existing master schedule, your supervision schedule, and duty roster. We need to look at your accreditation report we need to have that. We need to have all those things. And if you say, Dale, I can't remember all that stuff. Well, right here, I'm going to give you this document that has all of it on. This is what you need, things you'll need in OMA Task 1. This is what you'll need: your DPI report card, EVOS report, which is your growth, school improvement plan, your master schedule, duty roster, supervision schedule, teacher working condition survey, and your latest accreditation report. Now, your latest accreditation report is what leads you. These are the things you need to look at. You need to look at them in this order, because the last one of these is going to lead you to doing your external context. Your latest accreditation report at the beginning has all of your external about your community, your average income. It has your average age of the people in your community. It has average income, average education, and it tells the story. Now, you've already written a background and setting for your community. This would just add some data to it. And so these are the things that you're going to need now to do your internal context. And so again, what you're going to talk about is all of those things. And then you're going to talk about the federal programs that you have. You're going to talk about those, and that's all your special POPs programs. And those are going to be Exceptional Children, 504, AIG, English as Second Language, Title I, and your CTE programs. All those are federal programs. You're going to have to do an audit on all of those, and tell us, what you've got, and what students are supposed to get, and what they're getting in all of your federal programs. your master schedule, all those things. And so it's what it says here, the county is strongly encouraged to include all programs for exceptional learners, diversity, special needs, POPs. Those are all your federal programs. So you're going to put all that together to give us a context of your school. You know, your master schedule, your duty roster is duties during the day, bus duty, car rider duty, lunch duty, hall duty, all that. Supervision schedule is extracurricular, after school, Saturdays, weekends, how you cover those things. We have to have that schedule. We have to have your master schedule. Master schedule is who teaches what, where, and when. And so you have to understand that there is a way that you build the master schedule. Somewhere in your building, there's a gridded off whiteboard with stickies on it, even though your principal says there is. And somebody's got to put the names of the teachers on those stickies where they go. And you got to have a process of how you do that. You always start with your federal programs first, then state law, which is class size, teacher qualifications, then local board policy, like how many minutes of this or that, block schedule versus AB day. Then your performance data tells you what teachers ought to be teaching, what classes, and then finally teacher input. So it always goes in that order. It always goes federal law, state law, local board policy, performance data, teacher input, always in that order, always. It never deviates from that order. And we can't get them out. We can't get it twisted. We can't put one before the other. It always goes federal, state, local, performance, teacher input, always.
Dr. Land, they need to be reminded too that if you're in North Carolina, Power School requires principals to have that master schedule finished in early spring. So you need to talk with your principals about that and ask to be a part of that process. And then again, all of you will be doing 605 in the summer when they're building the schedules and everything. So all of that becomes a part of your internship as you help develop those things in the summertime. So what you're doing in 603, you'll actually be doing a lot of it in 605.
Yeah. Yeah, but you need to talk to the principal about that. And so that's the way it goes. Now, the other piece of this is the cornerstone of, get this out of the way. There's two cornerstones in the path to school improvement that support your school improvement plan. That's your school budget and your master schedule. So if your school improvement plan says, you know, I was reading an app sale earlier today, and they were talking about fluency for their K2 kids. That's their real problem, is fluency. Okay, that would be in our school improvement plan. What could we do in our master schedule to accommodate that? And what could we do in our school budget to accommodate that? One of the biggest mistakes I see school people make is they do all this work and they build this great school improvement plan, and then they don't change their master schedule to accommodate it, nor they don't put money from their school budget behind it. Now, if I was going to work on fluency, I'd do phonics. There's a couple of good programs. I'd spend my money on that. I'd also cut me another 15 to 30 minutes on reading time every week to work on phonics. I'd probably do it 2 or 3 times a week. In my master schedule, I'd extend my reading time. That's what we're talking about, being intentional here. So to conclude task 1 of the OMA, back to it, clearly describes the school's budgeting process. I want to know about purchasing, purchase orders. I want to know about the budgeting process and procedures. How we came. Now, creating a budget is not taking all the money and dividing it out equally. Some people don't, some get more than others, and some don't get any. We budget based on our priorities. What I'm most interested in is participation of school personnel and the school improvement team in the budget. Now, if school personnel and the school improvement team don't have any say-so in building the budget, what's the likelihood that the school improvement plan is going to be supported? Who owns the school improvement plan? Well, that'd be the school improvement team. They own the school improvement plan. And if they don't have any say-so in the budget, their initiatives won't get funded. And we wonder why we do the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. That's what we're talking about. You got to be intentional in how you schedule your school and why you're scheduling your school. We're scheduling it for improvement. We've got an improvement initiative. You learned in the app cell how to identify your most pressing need. Then you learned how to go out and set your teachers up for success through a professional development plan and get them to be better teachers. Now, as a school leader, you're moving to the management piece. We start internal to the classroom. Now we're moving to the school management piece where we've got to take that knowledge, that data, and translate that into our master schedule, how we run the school every day, and our budget, which funds those things. That's what we're doing now. And then in task 2, this is a gift. You're going to take your APTEL, that's APTEL, APTEL, the one you just finished. You're going to take your APTEL, you're going to copy task 1 through 3. You're going to take all the labels off of it that say APTEL. You're going to put it all together in the proper place, with the headings, and it's going to become OMA task 2. It's a simple copy and paste. Take you 30 minutes or less, just like domino. Again, because you were required to do an academic in task, in your app cell, and then your APTEL had to be about improving instruction. That's what this is. You can sit and read through this. You say, we just did that. Well, that's correct. You just copy task 1, take the task and prompts and the labels from the APTEL off of it. Task 1 through 3 of the APTEL, 1, 2, and 3. Those 3 tasks, take them all, copy and paste it. That becomes OMA task 2. Then in task 3, what you're going to do is you're going to do analysis of the existing school schedule. Assessment of the scheduling procedures, not the schedule itself, the procedures. If you got a bad schedule, it's because you got a bad process that got you there. And the worst thing that you can do is start monkeying with a bad schedule. The half the people that are happy will now be mad. So now everybody will be mad. And so if you got a bad master schedule, the fix is fix the process that led to that bad schedule. You need to do an assessment of the scheduling strengths and areas for improvement. Did they start with the federal program? Did they let teachers do it? They should be last. They shouldn't come first. Teachers always schedule for their own convenience, not for what you need for them to do. And they'd be idiots if they didn't. And so, that's what you're doing in 3. And you do all the rest of these things here, and then you develop a draft of the new schedule. And before you ask me, don't wear out the chat function, ask them. Let's talk about the new schedule. If you're just working with like in the high school with a CTE or maybe fine arts or the English department, you can do a new schedule for them. If you're working in a middle or an elementary school, then you need to do a whole one because those aren't very involved. We can kind of negotiate the middle school. If you're in elementary, I want to see a whole new schedule. It's not very involved. Now, if you're in high school, a department will be fine. And if you have further questions on that, you'll ask me when we get there, and I'll make an adjudication. Middle school's kind of in the middle. Most middle school people just do a whole new one. It's usually not that big a deal. And of course, in task 4, you will do your competencies like you always do. You will again do half of them or 12 of them, then you'll do 9 when we do the skill. All right. So that's the OMA. It's very straightforward. Please remember, we're switching away now. We spent the first course, first 2 evidences, internal instruction. It's most important. We're now making a 90-degree turn, and now we're doing school management. We're doing operations now. We're going to do master schedule. We're going to do duty rosters. We're going to do supervision schedules. We're going to do budgets. We're going to do the actual day-to-day of how you run a school. And again, that it's a little bit different. And so it's not as if there are a whole lot of things to remember other than you must follow the rules. These rules are not optional when you get to operations, because what happens is if you think you have discretion, that usually leads to the unemployment line. If you make a mistake in operations, you go home. It's just that simple. You don't just misspend federal money but one time. You don't get a second chance to misspend federal money or put the wrong kids in the wrong class, that kind of stuff, one time. You don't leave something unsupervised one time and somebody get hurt, killed, or maimed, or whatever, but one time. You don't not follow up and do your safety checks in your building and have a fire, and you hadn't documented twice a month safety checks, but one time. Forget your fire drill one time. These are all we're moving into areas where there are rules and regulations, state and federal laws that must be obeyed, not if you want to. And you can't go out in the court of public opinion and jump up and down and argue against science or common sense. Not in this business. They just move on from it, and you have to pay the money back. So you need to understand when we get to this, that there's not a lot of opinion in this. I've told you before. You don't think, follow the rules here. That's, this is more so than ever before. You must follow the rules here. We'll start with that in 603. We'll start with 115C and the titles in South Carolina and the general statutes in North Carolina. 288, 115C are all the education laws, most specifically 288, duties and responsibilities of the principal. But we'll go through all these things and you'll say, great day. There's a lot of laws to have to know. There's 545 in North Carolina and about the companion number of titles in South Carolina. They're all about the same. South Carolina does a little bit better job of grouping theirs together, but it's all the same stuff. All the things that you'll need to, now you don't have to remember, you do need to know 288, by the way. You need to know all the subsections of it, just a couple pages long. But you need to know where to find all the rest of them. But the thing that you got to understand going into 603 is this is not opinion stuff. You must follow the law. And the quickest way is to not report or not follow a law or do something that you wanted to do or assign an overload a class, do something like that. Register kids that aren't there, count kids that are there that didn't come, hide your suspensions and count kids there. I mean, fill in the blank. You'll hear all the stories when you get to 603 of ways that people have tried to figure out how to cheat one time. So that's the importance here is we're going to teach you to be able to administer in a school anywhere and follow the law where you will do great and you will not have to worry about losing your house. That's the whole notion of 603. I can't keep you from getting sued. You will. If you're in it long enough, you'll get sued. But the issue is we just need you to win. Just like Al Davis said, just win, baby. We need for you to win when you go to court. You don't need to lose your house. You don't need to be unemployed. And so the notion here is if we do the right thing, kids and teachers will be safe and we won't lose our house when we go to court. And so that's what 603 and OMA specifically is about. Shifting gears, the next one in 603 is the skip, and it's involving community and parents in the school process. It's basically let us help you help your child. How do we get parent involvement in our schools for an academic purpose? Now, if just having people come to school for events raise test scores, in Eastern North Carolina, we'd have a donkey basketball game. We'd have a barbecue in the Piedmont. We'd have a womanless wedding up on the mountain, and we could pack the houses. But that won't make our test scores go up. But there is a way to involve parents and community that will lead to increased academic achievement. And that's what the school improvement, the school and community improvement plan is all about. The SKIP is all about is involving the parents the right way, community members the right way, that we get an academic back bounce out of it. It's an indirect approach to getting improvement in our test scores. You learned in the app sale the direct approach. Now we're going to teach you the indirect approach to getting parents to get involved and support, but for the whole purpose is to improve our academic achievement. So let's look at the skip. And in the first part of the skip, what we're going to look at, let me share my screen.
Dr. Lamb, while you're getting there, just a reminder that the information, a lot of the information on the OMA is found under week 14 in Blackboard. And I would encourage you to go ahead and look at that and to go ahead and download information that you need to be able to get started before January, that those of you that's going to hopefully work ahead. So is under week 14.
And I'll put any of the things that I've shown you tonight, I'll make sure that they're all there, week 14 as well. All right, so we start the skip with the candidate will lead the skip team to conduct a needs assessment to determine gaps in communication between the internal and external communities. That means parents and teachers, and potential opportunities for involvement of these communities. All right. So we start with the background description of the setting. You've already written that, clear statement, purpose, and needs assessment. Please don't get too broad here. What we need to say is we're looking for gaps in communication between the school and parents. That's it. We're looking for gaps in communication. We're not doing a needs assessment for things that we need or program or academic, just communication. And then stop. Remember this, we've already found our most pressing need and done all these other things in our first two. Follow the directions. Our needs assessment is simply to determine gaps in communication between the school and parents in the community. List of people who participated in the needs assessment analysis defining a set of recommendations that identifies avenues of communication that will be established. A set of recommendations includes both short and long-term objectives to establish the school community improvement plan. All right, so what that means is this. You got to have short-term and long-term recommendations to address gaps in communication. All right, what does that mean? Well, short-term, it should always be the short-term goal would be to increase communication by using some sort of social media of some sort. But what we're trying to do in the short term is establish better and usual and regular lines of communication with parents using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those kinds of things, where we're in the modern world, where people who walk around with their phone in their hand all the time, where that's the way that we get in touch with them. That's the way that we contact them. We want to find a way to do that. We want to find a better way to link up with them short term. Now, following up with them and doing this again 6 months or whatever, that's not long term. Long term is a set of goals is something different. Long term is now that we have a better communication connection with these people. We want to use that to plan some events where we get those people to come to our campus for the purpose of an academic thing like family math night, family reading night, college fairs, those kinds of things where we help parents help their children. That's the purpose of the short term, is how we hook them. How do we make sure that they're getting our messages and we're being able to communicate with them? And once we've got that new and better communication, then we've got the long-term goal is where we go out and do something like family math night, family reading night, those kinds of things where we have parents come in. It's even better for parents of younger kids. We stick something in their hand, like a manipulative, a book. We give them something, or we have games or where we teach parents how to work with their kids at home. That's the whole point. One of the better ones I saw was at Northwest Guilford back in the day when I had several students there came through when we were still teaching face-to-face out of Greensboro. They did a job fair, and they partnered with Novant, the local medical people, and they had tables set up in the gym. On each of the tables, it had the job, how much it paid, and what you'd have to major in college, but even better, what courses you'd need to take in high school. And so, guess what happened to the number of kids signing up for advanced level courses at Northwest Guilford? Went through the roof. Parents came in, saw that with their kids, had them in, and they understood, oh, my child needs to take this. I need to work with my child on that. To get these courses, to get in this college, to get this job, and put it all together. It was wonderful. Again, family math night, you get manipulatives and you teach parents how to work with kids to do that. Family reading night, family EOG night, all those different things that you can get them. We have those things already, but nobody ever comes. Now we have a ball game, they'll show up for a ball game, but that will help your test scores. We're trying to find a way to indirectly get a back balance. And so you do your needs assessment, gaps in communication. Short term, we're going to do something like Twitter, instant messenger, whatever we have to do to communicate better with these people. Long term, we're going to do family math night, family reading night, etc. And then the second part of task 1, we're going to look at the school leadership section of our teacher working condition survey and come up with a set of recommendations for our school improvement plan to help improve school administration, school leadership. Now don't be confused. This is not the teacher. We've already done teacher leadership. And so we're going to look at specifically school leadership on our survey results and see what we can do to try to improve that. So let's read that one right quick. Share. The candidate will lead a team to conduct an organizational analysis to determine the climate of the school. Teacher working conditions survey will be used. Look at the school leadership, and you'll make recommendations for the school improvement plans to improve school leadership. That's what you'll do to conclude task 1 of the skip. And then in task 2, you will identify the resources that you need to pull off both your short and long-term objectives from task 1. Fiscal is how much money it's going to take. Human resources are how many people it's going to take. You identify those, and then you put your marketing plan together. Here are the things you do, just like you put together your action plan and your app sell and the growth plan in your app tell. In this one, you will put together a marketing plan, uses the same format. So here we go. Here's the document for task 2. I would summarize task 2: specific activity timeline, persons responsible, resources needed, fiscal and human. And then you can do this one for your marketing plan in task 3. And then of course in task 4, you will write your competencies, the other 9 that you did not do, in the OMA. So again, we use this same graphic organizer. You can use this one, which is has split your fiscal and human apart for that one. This will also be under week 14, your graphic organizer example. This is what you use in skip task 3. This is what you use in skip task 2 down here at the bottom. Say, Dale, that looks pretty easy. It is really easy and really quick. This one does not take a lot of time. And so you may even be able to move to the CAP before you end the spring semester. This is a really short one. But you got to get, it's the shortest one, but it's the one that I have most trouble with people not understanding. Just getting parents to come to your building won't make your test scores go up. You must be intentional in getting them to come to your building. You must be intentional. What are you going to do with them when you get there? If they're just watching the step team or a ball game, that won't help your test scores, believe it or not. There's these common misconceptions in our business that if we get parent involved, when the parents come to school, our scores will go up. No, they won't. You must be intentional in the purpose that you have them there for. Dr. Crawford and I, years ago, when I was getting ready to retire, and he was a big shot in Charlotte Mecklenburg. We had a ball team there. They won what, 9 state titles, 4A AA or 4A out of 10 years. On Friday night, they would have 10, 12,000 people come to their ball game. Let me say that again. A high school team on the outs, not on the internal. I'm talking about out in Mint Hill on that side of Charlotte, where the whole town probably got what, 2,000 people in it. On Friday night would have 10 or 12,000 people come to their football games. It's nothing like you've ever seen. Gardner-Webb doesn't have a third that many come to our games in college. 10 or 12,000 on a Friday night. You can't believe how busy it was. You just can't believe it. Do you think their test scores went up 1 iota? No. Over the course of a fall, they would have 100,000 people, parents, come to their campus over the course of a fall, that many games. 100,000. Their scores never went up a bit. But if you can have 8 or 10 or 10 or 20 that are there the right way for the right reason, you can make a significant impact academically. So that's what you're trying to do here. So that's the notion. The OMA is about how we build a master schedule, how we do our duty roster supervision schedule, how we go about running a school, making sure that our budget supports that. The skip is, again, we're indirectly working on that school improvement plan, everything we do is for the eventual purpose of increasing the student achievement. This semester, when we get to 603, it's about indirect methods of doing that. Semester 1 was about direct methods to improve instruction in our school. Identify through our data, putting new programs in and improving our staff, making sure that we professionally develop them, get better teachers, better leaders in their own classroom. This semester coming up is going to be about indirect methods, operational methods of how we also can improve student performance in our school. That's the notion here, folks. It's all about student achievement. Again, I told you the first night, if you don't think school's about achievement, this is not the business for you. Everything we do is going to circle back to student achievement. Even the indirect operational ones, like we're coming up on this semester in law and finance. We will always circle back to student achievement. That's what it's always going to be about. Always. And then when you get to 605, you will hit the cap and you will work on culture, and then you put it all together in the school improvement plan. At the end, the SIOP is all these put together, the first 5 put together, and that's how you actually build a school improvement plan. When you are given the template as a school principal, you do the same things that we've done. So you know what the job is when you get there. It's about building that plan, but again, it's all about student achievement. Can't outrun it. It's what we do. We don't just have school have a place to get out of the weather and babysit. It's all about achievement, as you have found out through COVID. It's kind of refocused everybody on how important schools are in achievement. Now, full disclosure here, there's a lot of people's kids who'd still be the village idiot, even if they had gone to school. But we're getting blamed for a lot that we can't affect either. But we're beginning to see, all of a sudden, people are thinking, great day. I didn't realize schools did all this. My kids have stayed home with me for a year. They're eating boogers, blowing spitballs. Well, they're the same kids that we're getting something out of, but they're not being nearly as expected. And so as successful as we have been in the public and charters and privates. But the notion here is we have come to focus more so than ever before that schools are about achievement. More so than ever before in the history of schools. COVID has brought about the absolute light bulb has gone on all over the world that schools are about achievement. If you don't send your kid to school, they don't learn anything. They're going to have a job, their name on the shirt, if they have a job. Schools matter. Schools are important now all of a sudden. It's amazing that it took a pandemic to get people to understand, that schools are all about achievement, and that without schools, that kids just don't grow and develop as they should. And so the pressure's on even more, as much as or more than ever before, to produce. We're going to go back to testing this year, and it's back to the grind. We got a year off from testing, but not this year. We got to see some improvement. So again, you spent the first semester learning how to directly impact instruction. Your next semester is going to be how to indirectly impact instruction. All the materials that I've shown you tonight will be under week 14 in your current shell. There's already some things there, and I will park some of the things that I showed you tonight. I don't put those there because I get too many questions if I don't explain them to you before I show them to you. All right, questions you have for me? Has somebody answered all the chats?
Hey, Dr. Lamb, what date are they permitted to start obtaining internship hours for this spring?
As soon as they finish one, as soon as they get their 80 this semester, anytime after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't start before. And as soon as you come back, I guess today from Thanksgiving, I think some people have work day today. I didn't understand that, but whenever you start back this week, whether it's today or tomorrow, you can start on your, if you got your 80 for already, you can start now. You can get a good many between now and time to go home. So yeah, catch a few if you can.
Dr. Lamb, just to remind the students, if you go to week 14 and you try to open up a document and it does not give you access, reach out to your instructor. I don't know, Dr. Lamb, it must have been in the course transfers. Dr. Revis has had several problems with some of the things. She's had to go back and refix access for the students. Dr. Revis, we got another problem with some of the things in one of your classes. I see. But anyway, just check and let us know, and we'll just have to manually go back in and fix it. So.
Okay. All righty. Anything else for the good of the group? All right.
Just remember the deadlines that we as your instructors are working under. Please adhere to these deadlines, because we've got to have time to review the work. We've got to have time for your evaluators to be able to do what they need to do to get it back and to get it ready. Time's running out to get our grades in on time for you. So please, please use your time wisely.
Okay. Class officially starts on January. For me, on January the 12th. Wednesday, I have Wednesday nights. And no, I'm not a heathen. I go to church at lunch on Wednesdays. We have class on Wednesday night. 7 o'clock, Wednesday night. Now, I don't know who else, I don't know since I assigned it. But most of my folks, most of us, we teach on Wednesday night at 6:03 in the spring. There's so many things going on, so many activities in the spring on Tuesday and Thursday. Now, another thing you need to remember is we only do one night a week, 6:03. We don't do separate coaching sessions in 6:03. Got to pick up the pace. We meet one night a week for 1 hour. You don't have to enroll. If you're in good standing, you will roll over. Now, I said if you're in good standing. If you owe money, or if you got a hold on something academic, like you didn't send a transcript or something like that, And don't call me. I don't know if you've got a hold or not. But if you don't see, let's see, on Monday, January the 3rd, if you don't see that you've got a class, if you know you got a hold, you got to contact student accounts. If you've got a graduate or an academic hold, you got to get in touch with the graduate school for those. If you don't see a class shell in Blackboard on the 3rd of January, then you need to get concerned, and you need to call either or both the graduate school to see if you've got an academic hold of some sort, like you didn't turn in a transcript, or you need to call student accounts, Becky Tony, and see if you owe them any money. Again, I can't advocate for you in either of those, and I can't help you in either of those. I can't know that. Again, you're going to learn in 603 about federal law called FERPA. For those of you who are in exceptional children, you already know that law. So I'm not allowed to know if you owe money or have an academic hold, because that would be a violation of your privacy. So I can't help you. And yes, you can start submitting as soon as you have access to Blackboard. Now, in 603, you rarely use your coach's shell. Only if you're not. The way it works in 603, you turn everything in your class shell, and I read it, and if it's good, I move you on. If it's not, I can tell you in a minute or two what you need to do to fix it. If I can't, I send you to the coach, and they work with you individually. But we don't. The coach doesn't have regular sessions with you. They don't. You shouldn't need the coaching outside of what I cover with you in class. And we do have your coach there to work with you. There's no shame in that. If it's not happening for you, your coach will help you. But they work with you one-on-one when you get to 603. All the group sessions and all those things will be on Tuesday nights. On Wednesday nights. Now, sometimes we go more than an hour on Wednesday night. When we have case study nights, we'll go 2 hours those nights. So you need to plan on that. If it's just a regular night, we'll knock off at an hour. But 4 times when we have case studies, we will stay 2 hours for those. And we got some other things. And so you need to plan on those. Case studies are going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to learn how to collaborate and produce a product. A collaborative assignment where you do a collaborative presentation, PowerPoint. You're going to do 4 case studies that way. These aren't the kind of case studies where you sit around and say, well, I think this and think that. Don't think. Again, that's not what we're paying you for. You're going to have to do your legal research. And the first one, I'll just go ahead and tell you now. I'll go ahead. I won't apologize, but I'll just go ahead and tell you now. The first one you won't do well, and I will roast you. You will want to die. You will want to quit. But that's just part of the process. It's good. It's good for your humility to get roasted every now and then. And I'm really good at it. So I'm going to roast you really hard on the first one, but I'll bet on the second one, you'll do a lot better. And by the third one, you'll be expert. That's kind of the way it works. But I got to have a little hide on that first one now. And so that's the one that we're going to break you on the first one, but you'll be okay. You will have the same Zoom groups unless there's somebody that's dropped out. You will have the same Zoom groups, and everybody will do the same case every time. You won't do different cases. And yes, there will be a competition, and I'll tell who won the week. I'll also remind you who didn't do well that week as well. So if you get your feelings hurt easily, you'll get your feelings hurt, and I will have to roast you a little bit. But it's time that we're moving. We're changing our lens. We're moving from the teacher side to the administrator side. And that's exactly what 603 is all about, is changing your lens. So the first case study, I already know that some of you are going to jump in and be the champion. I know that you won't be able to cast that teacher role off. I know that you won't be able to. It'll all be in good fun for me. It won't be nearly as much fun for you. I can already tell you that, but it will be for me. It amuses me. So I'll just tell you. So if you haven't made that conversion yet to where you look at things from an administrative perspective, this is the one that's going to make or break. It's the first case study that we'll do in 603. You'll either say, you know, I want to be an administrator. I understand, and I need to look at this from an administrative perspective, or I can't give up who I am. I'm a teacher to my core. You know, I want to be an administrator to make teachers happy. I can get that out without laughing.
Dr. Lamb, I like what Preston said. He put down there, he said, January equals Santa has left the building at that
That is
point.
correct. Santa will be clean. Santa will be clean shaven in January, and all of my joy and mirth and goodwill and humor will leave with the beard. Be back to my mean and snarling self in January.
Now, I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all, he means everything he says, but I tell you what, he's not as bad as he says he is. He will go to the end of the world to work with you and to help you. And I promise you, you're going to have a wonderful time in 603.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of laughs. Just hope it's not at your expense. But so I'm ready. I'm already Santa Claus. I'm ready. But Santa departs right after Christmas. When we get to January, it's back to business. But we'll have a good time. The case studies are
He cuts the beard off too.
Yeah, the beard.
His wife. Yeah, his wife makes him cut that beard off.
Yeah, me and the dog, we shed too much, and so dog not quite as much as me, but so it will go. But we'll have a good time. It'll be a lot of fun. Dr. Maraglia and Dr. Caton, you'll have them or me. They're super. They're both principals. One's in Pitt County at Aiden Grifton High School. Dr. Caton's there. Others middle school, and so you will have them and me or some combination. I don't know exactly who's going to be coaching with me. It doesn't matter. I read all the work anyway. No convertible. It does have a motorcycle. I have two. I'm down to 2 motorcycles now, Dr. Crawford. I only have 2. I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I'm working on that addiction. I'm doing better. I'm just down to 2. And so here is, I don't have this one anymore. This was one of the original ones that I actually had that motorcycle a long time ago. That's a 58 dual glide, but I don't have it anymore. Anyway, folks, y'all all have a good Christmas. We'll have a great time in 603 in the spring. Got some really good people that'll be working with you. We got some great case studies. They are highly topical. They're not from 20 years ago. They're from right now, case studies, things that we're dealing with every day in the business. Again, 1 night a week, Wednesday night, we'll have 4 nights will be longer, but other than that, we won't have additional. You can work, your coach will work with you on an individual basis that fits your schedule. Rather than a group time, it will be you'll schedule a time with them if needed to work on things. And if you're not keeping up, we expect that you will be able to keep up without that. But we always have that safety net. If you need it, they're here to work with you. They're a lot nicer than I am. They'll work with you. And that will launch you into 605 with Dr. Stone, who is the kindest man in the world. You will love him dearly. He is genuinely the nicest person ever. And so you'll end up with him. So we'll have a good time this spring. We'll have some laughs. We got some good people. It's a different perspective than what you've done this semester. Again, it's operations. It's different than that. It's a little, you got to toughen up a little bit in operations. It's the real world.
He used to say that about me until Dr. Stone came on board. I started working before Dr. Stone, and then after Dr. Stone came on board, he didn't say that about me anymore.
No, you pretty grumpy with them on their stuff. So I just say Dr. Stone.
Well, who trained me? I learned from you.
No, Dr. Stone's not grumpy at all. He makes his coach be grumpy. He don't want to be grumpy. I don't need anybody to be grumpy by proxy for me, but he does. So he's such a nice man. But it's a good time. Our time is well past. We've run over here. All right, I will see y'all in early mid-January. We'll do a town hall to get you kicked off. What? We do that's probably the second week, something like January. So if I don't see you in class on the 12th, I'll see you like the 17th or the 18th when we do the legacy town hall to make sure everybody's registered and gotten everything is in and all that stuff is done. And but again, if you don't see your class on January the 3rd, you probably need to, and I'll put out something if they're not available, but they usually are available about January the 3rd. Let's say January the 5th. If they're not available January 5th, you need to start getting in touch with somebody, because registration is automatic as long as you don't have an academic or financial hold. The registration is automatic. You don't have to worry about that at all. All right, everybody have a good Christmas. I will see you in January. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.